This news program is proudly brought to you by
Smart Start Breakfast Biscuits
and Now Biscuits.
Prime Minister Marape calls for collaborative effort. Citizens celebrate New Year. And taxi driver fortunate after an airbag saved his life. A very good evening and Happy New Year. Thank you for joining us. The 1st of January 2023. This is National EMTV News. I'm Godwin Eki. Prime Minister James Marape has given his New Year's message to the country yesterday while in Kikori District in Gulf Province. Marape has given his reflection on the challenges and success of 2022 and urged Papua New Guineans to work hard and contribute to nation building in 2023 and beyond.
Another year ends and a new one begins. Prime Minister James Marape welcomed the new 2023, and this is his message to Papua New Guineans.
Offer you greetings and best wishes and good hope for 2023.
Prime Minister Marape has started off with a reflection of the year 2022, stating the challenges the country has gone through, such as economic recession, highlighting factors such as the Russian-Ukraine war and the COVID-19 pandemic.
We came through a hard 2022 at the back of COVID-19 in 2020 and 2021, where global economy, as a result of Ukraine war and the imported inflations and the hardships we faced in 2020 and 2021, made 2022 a hard year. But we came through, delivered the election in whatever form it was.
He gave his assurance that the government will continue to serve at their best, all for the people of Papua New Guinea. He furthermore highlighted the potentials for the 2023 national budget.
And we've passed our 2023 budget, the record 24 billion budget, and we're looking forward to operating 2023 in a manner in which every one of you would be assisted. We are assisting Papua New Guineans in school fees from elementary all the way to university. We are assisting Papua New Guineans in lifting the burden where you are. For instance, our small wage earners.
Prime Minister Marape sent his New Year's message whilst in Kikori District in the Gulf Province yesterday. Grace Papiali, National EMTV News.
New Year celebrations are in full flow in different locations of respective provinces in PNG. The Universal Church has held its annual vigil night to break into the new year in the presence of God. The Universal Church welcomed the new year with more than 500 people participating in different locations such as Gordon's, 8 Mile, Ley and Arawa. The pastor shared a message with the congregation teaching people to let go of their past as we go into the new year, forgiving and abandoning old ways. Testimonies were shared by those whose lives has changed in 2022 and the Holy Communion was served. The church members then broke into the new year as a prayer from Mount Hermon in Israel was made by Bishop Julio to bless the new year and receive the Holy Spirit. Thanks to an airbag, a taxi driver is fortunate to have walked away alive after his taxi was hit by a moving vehicle which was under the control of an intoxicated driver. An intoxicated driver who was doing a U-turn at an intersection near the 4 Mile Works department went head-on, crashing his car into a moving taxi belonging to Asia Pacific Taxi Services. Fortunately, the taxi driver who drove away alive, despite the damage caused to the taxi, was saved thanks to an airbag, which saved his life on New Year's Day. According to the bystanders along the roadside, they told EMTV News that the other vehicle, a Mark X, whose driver was under the influence of alcohol, didn't complete his U-turn. Instead, cut the U-turn in half, resulting in an accident that led to crashing his car into the Asia Pacific taxi. Despite the damage caused to both vehicles, onlookers came to assist both drivers and mediate while waiting for police to arrive at the scene. Those driving, particularly with families and their loved ones, are urged to take extra care and to be alert at all times. Beach Road at Hohola every year finds itself with broken bottles and old white goods to even old vehicles, something residents in the area say has become a tradition in the area. Last night, youths in the area celebrated their new year, dragging these things to the road. At least 500 meters of beach road in Hohola in the nation's capital following the New Year celebration turned into a bottle street with pieces of smashed bottles all over the street. Not only this, but both sides of the street were covered with old debris of washing machines, fridges and even old cars which were dragged onto the streets by youths in the area to mark the New Year celebrations. Local residents said this is not the first time the youths in the area have done this. He said with so much disturbances by drunken youths, police and defense force arrived at the scene last night and fired warning shots to stop the youths from smashing bottles on the street.
Last night's New Year celebration was really bad. Boys from all over the streets came and joined the boys in the street. Came up and they started breaking bottles on the street and shouting out Happy New Year. We were in the yard, we locked our gates and we were in the yard. We just watched them and they continued to do. They decided to pull up one of the old trucks right out. They started pulling out washing machines that were put for NCDC to pick up and all those metals and all this. They pulled them right out onto the main road and they started wanting to block the road, and then the police and the PNG Defense Force personnel came and then they dispatched them, the gunshots. And it was not only the street, it was the Federal Street, that S Street, the Ebony Street and also Jerupi Street, which was all noisy, and they even pulled out tins and they were all making noise. So the police had to dispatch these ones and then move to the other street and dispatch those ones. And then that's how it happened.
He said this is done every year, where it has become a tradition for those that have grown up in the area to now young youths taking over and continuing this unwanted behavior. While giving his New Year's message, he also took time to urge NCDC to also do something about this, especially when it comes to New Year celebrations. Hela Province has reported a very good New Year celebration. Provincial Police Commander Chief Superintendent Joseph Tondop told EMTV News this morning that it was relatively quiet all throughout the province. Police personnel, in collaboration with churches in the province, began awareness of law and order and being responsible citizens, and this has definitely paid off. This was alluded to by a proud PPC Tondop.
Speaking to MTV News via telephone this morning, a delighted PPC Joseph Tondop said compared to previous years, where fights and violence prevailed in the province, especially in festive periods, the end of 2022 was quiet.
The roads are cleared. People were celebrating, making noise in their own yards. The roads and public places were all cleared. As of 6 o'clock this morning, as usual, there are people still celebrating, rubbing muds and everything else that's taking place as normal. But generally, situation, it's all good. People, I think they're beginning to understand the true meaning of the New Year.
PPC Tondop explained that the rule of law has been weak, resulting in the breakdown of law and order. However, restoration process is slowly but surely taking its course in the Hela province.
So I'm asking them to let's put God first, and let's respect government authority, and then police will come in under my leadership. I'll put, restore my command control mechanisms, internal security systems. I think he has been weak for some 10, 15 years, trying to restore that. I'm slowly trying to get the community, restore some confidence and the public. So once they understand us, people go to church and get themselves educated.
The police boss in the Hela province believes when the province is in order and when police start to enforce law and order, everything else, including people's behavior and mindset, change for the better. Lindy Suharupa, National EMTV News.
On the 29th of December 2022, Hela Province witnessed a momentous repentance, reconciliation and forgiveness day. This significant event was attended by Prime Minister and local member James Marape and other ministers of his cabinet. The whole purpose of the event was to launch a joint partnership with churches on law and order in the province.
This important Repentance, Reconciliation and Forgiveness Day was well attended. This was alluded to by the man in charge of policing in the province.
Events really went well. The Prime Minister attended, Honorable Governor and Philip Hundialu and all his colleague MPs from Hela with Honorable Joe Sungi, with Honorable Casey Swan. They all attended. It was a good event. Everybody, the whole Hela came. It was my initiative, together with the Council of Churches.
PPC Tondop clarified the purpose of staging this important event.
And basically, we were informing the people that, look, let's put God first and respect government authorities, and everything else, the blessings will come in. And when we get our house in order, police in order, and I start, enforcing order, law and order, I'm sure everything else will fall in place.
It is understood that Prime Minister James Marape and Governor Philip Hundialu also spoke to their people, resulting in a peaceful New Year celebrations and good indications of a healthy law and order society moving forward. The police boss in the province has praised the people of Hela and has mentioned that he has total faith for positive changes in the province moving forward. Lindy Suharupa, National EMTV News.
National EMTV News continues after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to National EMTV News. The new year 2023 is here, hence we now take a quick look back on three things that happened in 2022. New electorates, the 2022 National General Elections and the 2023 National Budget, which is said to be the largest by far in PNG history.
Seven new electorates were approved prior to the 2022 National General Elections. This came about as per the 2021 Electoral Boundaries Commission or EBC report and recommendation, which recommended for the creation of 12 new electorates. Prime Minister James Marape tabled the report in Parliament and highlighted that upon consultation with the Electoral Commission, the Electoral Commission indicated that it was a bit late and it will not be possible to conduct elections for the 12 new electorates as proposed. The Electoral Boundaries Commission then recommended that 7 new electorates be included in the 2022 National General Elections. The 7 new electorates are Delta Fly in Western Province, Hirikoyari in Central Province, Popondetta in Oro Province, Nakanai in West New Britain Province, Wawaria in Morobe Province, Komohulia in Hela Province, and Pogra Payala in Enga Province.
There are challenges like that, rearranging the council votes and the electorates, and then rearranging the administrative polling schedules, you name it, all down the line. When it's affected the head, it has to go down, affecting the whole system. So we go to all of that, yes.
The creation of these 7 new electorates has brought the open MPs numbers from 89 to 96. Prime Minister Marape said the creation of these new electorates will ensure equal distribution of services from development funds. However, there were questions raised of whether this decision was rushed and due to the fact that recommendation by the EBC was based off the 2011 national census. Despite criticisms when the 2022 national general elections came about, the 7 new electorates were included. The 2022 national general elections was met with so many issues right from the start, with the deferral of the issue of writs on 3 separate occasions. Think tank organizations, non-government organizations, independent researchers, and observer groups detailed in their reports the preparations, conduct, and delivery of the national general elections and made recommendations for the next election period in 2027. The 2022 national general elections had discrepancies with the common roll, non-compliance with constitutional requirements, and disturbances in the conduct of ballot counting and widespread election-related violence.
Double and multiple voting because of the common roll issues. People just line up, vote, come back, line up again, vote, because and also due to non-use of the indelible ink. So people are just free walking in, walking out, walking in.
These issues, they say, undermine the principles of democracy and the rule of law. As per an independent observation report by Transparency International, in order to improve the conduct of national elections in Papua New Guinea, focus should be given to promoting transparency and integrity throughout the entirety of the 5-year electoral cycle.
We plan to begin public consultations in January. We've already started early work, so I just wanted to sort of, and put it this way, the report writing is not difficult. Transparency International has reports that go back several elections. NRI has reports going back to, I think, 1964 or something. So we have enough reports and recommendations, and that's the strategy the committee will be taking. The report will be written by NRI with input from, obviously, Transparency International and basically any interested party.
The 2022 national general election, despite all the challenges, concluded with the formation of the 11th government, led by the Pangu Party, with 36 Pangu Party candidates retaining their seats. After a hiatus of 5 years, 2 women were voted into parliament. Rufina Peter was elected as the governor for Central Province, and Cassie Sawang was elected as the open member of parliament for Raikos district of Madang Province.
We are grateful to have Honorable Treasurer here with us.
With the formation of the new Marape-Rosso government, new ministerial portfolios were also created. These portfolios are oil palm, coffee, and international trade and investment. After the 33-member cabinet was announced, the national budget for 2023 was presented on the floor of Parliament by the Treasurer Ian Ling-Starkey.
This is the first budget after the re-election of the Pangu-led government. The 2023 budget implements our vision. This is a responsible budget of ongoing repair with a further reduction in our budget deficit by $1 billion kina. Another decisive step to a budget surplus by our target date of 2027. This is a budget that focuses on the key Pangu-led government priorities. Over 400 million kina extra for police and the judiciary, the largest and most significant investment into our law and order sector in our history. Over 400 million kina for more police, teachers, doctors and nurses, not just an empty promise, but a promise backed by full funding contained in our 13-year plan. 1.1 billion kina for a major expansion in our provincial and district infrastructure programs. Going local and ensuring no province and no district is left behind. Over 1.3 billion kina in new investment for the transformative PNG Connect program. And within these long-term structural and investment policies, 590 million kina in temporary support for households to help deal with cost of living pressures. Implementing the vision, all within our available resources. Visionary, responsible, focused on all regions, focused on leaving no one behind, focused on investments for our children's future.
The 24.5 billion kina budget for Papua New Guinea was passed on November 30th, 2022. Director of the Institute of National Affairs, Paul Barker, responds to the budget in regards to the tax threshold for Papua New Guineans.
So, on an interim basis, they raised the threshold for tax from 12,500 to 17,000. Now they're introducing that on a permanent basis, so that the the threshold for paying taxes rises to 20,000. So that will, for those who are paying taxes, which of course is only a small portion of the total population that are actually having incomes.
The 2023 budget, according to Treasurer Ling Starkey, is the largest in PNG's history.
National EMTV News continues after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to National EMTV News. Member for Kikori and Minister for Provincial and Local Level Government Affairs, Soroi Eoe, challenged the government to create more job opportunities so students graduating from various institutions would have a job to sustain their livelihood. He made this statement following the increase in the number of tertiary graduates roaming the streets with no formal employment. He said this is a huge challenge the government has at hand and must look into it.
Minister Eoe said at most times parents put a lot of effort into their children's education. But when students finish their studies, they are jobless, and this remains a challenge for the government.
We really need to create opportunity within the country by investing into projects that can create opportunities.
The minister said PNG cannot be a raw material exporting country forever. The country needs to develop and progress into the next phase.
My biggest concern, and I've challenged our government, we need to migrate to areas that we can start developing, processing, getting involved in factory, so we can, produce things that we can stop importation.
He added that the government also needs to look into import substitute as it creates job opportunities as well. Sharon Engnui, National EMTV News.
Meanwhile, Member for Kikori and Minister for Provincial and Local Level Government Affairs, Soroi Eoe, announced that he stands committed to supporting tertiary students in his district going into 2023. Minister Eoe made this statement following his visit to the inmates at the Bomana prison in Port Moresby yesterday.
Minister Eoe pointed out that 2022 they have committed almost 560,000 kina to support tertiary students. Election interference have disrupted the budget, but said he stands committed to supporting students for this year, 2023.
Because the election has interfered with our program, so we kind of supported not the full support that we should have given. But 2023 will be given the same type of support.
Minister Eoe, who has been the former Minister for Foreign Affairs and International Trade, emphasized on his aim to support students who have been pushed out of the formal education system.
My aim of training my giving second chance to our kids, basically to do with project I'm developing in Kikori district. You may have heard about EU Special Economic Zone. So I am training my people both at high school to tertiary level, as well as institutions that can train our people to drive bulldozers or understand computing or understand electrical. So we're giving that type of help so as to provide an opportunity for them if and when the project takes off.
He said they have been engaging closely with MAPEX and Kumul training institutes to ensure students left out of the system are given a second chance in those institutions. Minister Ewe also added that education plays a significant role in transforming lives of individuals, and thus it is important to support education. Sharon Engnui, National EMTV News.
The Porgera mining impacted landowners has appealed to the responsible authorities, that are the Mineral Resources Authority and the National Planning, to give their outstanding payments for legacy issues. They appealed and claimed that the government has allocated 210 million kina for legacy issues a couple of months ago in the supplementary budget, which they are yet to receive.
One of Papua New Guinea's biggest mine is on the verge of reopening and operating this year, as announced by the province's governor, Sir Peter Ipatas, and the Prime Minister, James Marape, in 2022. The Porgera gold mine, situated in Enga province, is a robust economic boomer for the country. However, there are issues that need to be sorted out in order for operation to commence. One of the issues raised is by landowners from the Porgera Mining Impacted Landowners Association. Recently, the landowners have aired their concerns on the outstanding claims of legacy issues. Fortunately, in 2022, the government has allocated 210 million kina specifically for legacy issues. This was revealed in the 2022 supplementary budget, which is part payment for the 700 million kina resettlement of special mining lease landowners. The representatives from the Porgera Mining Impacted Landowners Association has commended the government for their consideration towards them.
Why me like to thank you, Marabe last time Parliament session lo September 4th September all announce mo Marabe government na treasury liasagi mi announce mo passing triple bill long pay one blah 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 me pay legacy issues long Porgera landowners 210 million on legacy issues. Now me law la man sidom stabia me law man been lodging obligation fight against law and Bari for last 25 years or 30 years because law life would blown blame background.
However, concerns were raised.
Suppose power line na, river na, over ice man na, mi play talk stabosem yed na, you sarim disla money grow na labna. How ban play go up in Porgera? Thank you, Marape. You just working action one them, mi play work what said, mi play work one them, then mi play one bell one them, mi play by go in Porgera. That's clear. Thank you.
They have appealed to the Mineral Resources Authority and the Department of National Planning and Monitoring to make payments for the respective claimants.
This money, 210 million, and must pay according to this grievance. We will be lodging through the MRA in the mining, former mining department, mining minister, Johnson Tuge. Okay, Marape Russell government must pay him.
Grace Papiali, National EMTV News.
The acting board chairman of the PNG Accident Investigation Commission, Captain Arya Bouraga, announced the publication of the preliminary report AIC 22 to 1005 involving an Airbus helicopter registered P2 PHA that sustained substantial damage to the fenestron. Captain Bouraga explained that it is the policy of the AIC to publicly release a preliminary investigation report for each accident or serious incident being investigated within 30 days from the accurate date, pursuant to requirements of Annex 13 to the Convention on International Civil Aviation. At this stage, the AIC has established that the helicopter was conducting a VFR medical evacuation flight from Fogomayo Airstrip, Southern Highlands Province to Tari Hospital, Hela Province. When during landing at the hospital helipad, the helicopter sustained significant damage to its fenestron. Foreign object debris was ingested by the helicopter's fenestron and caused substantial damage. And moving overseas now, celebrations are being held around the world as the new year marches across the globe. Many major cities hosted traditional fireworks display for the first time since the pandemic.
Quite literally rung in the new year with a display of lights and sound over the iconic Thames River. Midnight in the City of Lights was rung in with tricolour fireworks across the Arc de Triomphe. In his New Year's speech, the French President, Emmanuel Macron, urged France to hold firm on energy savings as the war in Ukraine grinds on. Greece used one of the great wonders of the ancient world for its New Year's Eve celebrations, with fireworks lighting up the Athenian sky over the Parthenon. Built in the 5th century BC, the Parthenon stands atop the Acropolis, which was once the centre of classical Athens. Dubai has used the world's tallest building as the centrepiece of their New Year's Eve celebrations, with the Burj Khalifa tower lit up with thousands of lasers and a pyrotechnic display. And Hong Kong welcomed 2023 with a fireworks display across Victoria Harbour. Buildings were illuminated with colourful images, while giant fireworks lit up the night sky above them.
It's been an extraordinary night here in Sydney. Up to 1 million people are believed to have gathered at parks, balconies and parties around the harbour to bring in the new year. The fireworks display included 9,000 crackers, 7,000 went off from the Sydney Harbour Bridge, another 2,000 off the sails of the Opera House, and there were 100,000 individual pyrotechnic effects which helped turn the sky into a kaleidoscope of colours. The theme was diversity and inclusion, with nods to Australia's Indigenous history and LGBTQ advances, with a rainbow waterfall tumbling down from the bridge.
The Vatican has announced former Pope Benedict XVI has died at the age of 95.
Aloysius Ratzinger was born in a small Bavarian town in 1927. At 14, he was conscripted into Hitler Youth. After deserting, he was taken a prisoner of war. Then he returned to the seminary. He was appointed Archbishop of Munich in 1977, earning a reputation as the Panzer Cardinal and God's Rottweiler. As Dean of the College of Cardinals from 2002, he took a hard line on the issues of women priests, contraception, abortion, divorce and homosexuality. In 2005, Joseph Ratzinger delivered the homily at the funeral of John Paul and the sermon at the start of the papal conclave, and it was no great surprise when he was elected to lead the church, even though he was already 78.
Hanno eletto me, un semplice, umile lavoratore nella vigna del Signore.
He was the third Pope to visit Australia in 2008, celebrating World Youth Day in Sydney and praying at the shrine of Mary MacKillop, who he later declared a saint.
The unified voice of religious people urges nations and communities to resolve conflicts through peaceful means and with full regard for human dignity.
But many Australian victims of sexual abuse by priests were disappointed that he didn't make more open efforts to heal their pain. In early 2013, he became the first pope to retire in 600 years, citing his advanced age and lack of strength. There were allegations of corruption at the Vatican, and Benedict had presided over a church beset by sexual abuse scandals. The 85-year-old farewelled the crowds in St Peter's Square, speaking about the troubled times of his papacy, and he declared he was on the last stop of his pilgrimage on earth. Earlier this year, a German inquiry found he'd failed to take action to prevent sexual abuse during his time in Munich, but senior church leaders rallied around him. Pope Francis took new cardinals to meet the ailing former pontiff, where Benedict said the Lord had taken away his ability to speak so he could appreciate silence.
I would like to ask all of you for a special prayer for Pope Emeritus Benedict, who, in silence, is sustaining the Church.
Benedict XVI was 95 years old.
National EMTV News continues after the break with Trukai Sports. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. PNG kickboxer and rugby league player Paul Ayaro, who moved to Australia in 2022 to compete as a kickboxer, now lives and represents PNG in both sports. Paul says while he enjoys representing PNG on the international stage, he is looking forward to signing a one-year contract with a local rugby league club in Queensland, Australia. Having travelled to Australia in 2020 to compete at an invitational tournament in Sydney, New South Wales under an Australian promoter, Steve Jez, PNG kickboxer Paul Ayaro, who was training under Marksman Fights promotion in Port Moresby, now resides in Brisbane, Australia, representing PNG. As a kickboxer, Paul, who started his fights in Sydney, now travels around Australia competing in various events in Brisbane, Melbourne and Perth. Having travelled in Queensland, a state known for creating top names in the Australian NRL and rugby league in general, Paul has also been identified for his love of rugby league, especially coming from a country that religiously follows rugby league. Paul says it's all about finding time and balance between the two sports that he loves. While he travelled professionally to attend kickboxing tournament as his career, Paul is looking to sign a one-year contract with a local rugby league club in Queensland. Currently, Paul is training in preparations for his first upcoming fight in 2023 in February. Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
You're watching Trukai Sports. Following the only washout matches played yesterday at Bomana for the NCD Governors' Cup is on hold today to let participating clubs and the organisers celebrate the new year. Since the launching of the NCD Governors' Cup last weekend to kicking off the tournament on Tuesday this week, a total of 48 teams went into the tournament with 12 teams in each of the 4 pools. As all matches were played in various venues in the city, rounds 1 and 2 were played successfully, while round 3 matches were deferred to the following day due to wet weather. The only games played yesterday in the city were the games played at Bomana, where the final 4 teams went head-to-head to complete the normal rounds. Following the New Year celebrations last night, as players and officials of the tournament went into celebrating the New Year's Day with their families, all matches have been deferred to tomorrow onwards. Top 2 teams from each of the pools will head into the quarter-finals, semi-finals and the grand final between the top 2 teams of the Governors' Cup. That ends Trukai Sports. The weather report is next. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
Weather forecast for the next 24 hours. Southern region, Port Moresby, cloudy periods with chances of a rain or 2. Daru, Alatau and Popondetta, cloudy periods with some showers. Kerema, cloudy periods. In the Momase region, Ley, cloudy periods with chances of a shower or 2. Medang, Wewak and Vanimo, cloudy with few showers. In the New Guinea Islands region, Lorengau and Kimbe, cloudy with some showers. KV and Kokopo and Rabaul, partly cloudy with a shower or 2. In the Highlands region, all centres cloudy periods with few showers, then morning fog. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait to Daru to Kiwai Islands to Kerema to Yule Island to Hood Point to Samarai and eastern Milne Bay Islands seas 2 to 3 meters. Waters of western Milne Bay Islands to Cape Vogel to Ewan Gulf to Finschhafen seas 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of Finschhafen through Whittier Straits, Dampier Straits to CSC and Long Island seas 1.5 to 2 meters. Waters of Long Island to Medang to Bogia to Wewak to Vanimo and northern PNG Indonesian border seas 1.5 to 2 meters. Waters of Manus and its western group of islands seas 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of New Island and Bougainville seas 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of East New Britain and West New Britain seas 1 to 2 meters. Ocean forecast. Coral Sea seas rough to patches very rough, northwest to westerly winds of 25 to 33 knots. Solomon Sea sees moderate northwest winds of 10 to 20 knots. Bismarck Sea sees moderate northwest winds of 10 to 20 knots. And Pacific Ocean sees slight northeast to northwest winds of 10 to 15 knots.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
And that wraps up the news, sports and weather for the first day of January 2023. From the entire news team, we wish you a prosperous new year. Bye for now.
This news program was proudly brought to you by Smart Start Breakfast Biscuits and Gold Nuggets.